last minute to people to join. Welcome, thanks for coming. My name is Jorge, and if the slides do work. Hello, no? Oh, yeah, there we go. So yeah, my name is Jorge. I work for a company based in London. It's called Server Density. This is my Twitter account if you want to send questions or anything like that. We also write a blog, which is quite cool, we think, where we write about DevOps, HumanOps, which is the topic I'm going to talk today. All sort of things. So if this talk gets boring at some point, probably you can open your laptop and start reading our blog. My company, Server Density, as I said, we are based in London. We've been running for 7 years already. And what we do server and website monitoring. It's a SaaS product, and basically we collect all the metrics from your servers, and we will let you know on our probably we will be waking you up in the middle of the night if you need to fix your infrastructure. But don't worry, I'm not here today to talk about my product and do spam. But last thing before we move into the real topic, HumanOps, check that out, Cloud Status app, which is a very nice alerting app if you are using any of the cloud providers out there. DevOps, well, Atmosphere is a DevOps conference. We have been learning about all the buzzwords already, Docker, Go, Jenkins, Ansible, all that. And well, in general, DevOps has been traditionally about tools. So infrastructure automation, configuration automation, continuous testing, continuous delivery, which is one of the hipster things at the moment, monitoring with us, hopefully. Logs, feedback, everything, it's been about the tools. But what about the people? So humans, we are the ones behind any infrastructure. If we have tons of tools and every day we develop new tools that make our lives easier, we are still the ones fundamental for our infrastructure. We are part of the system. We do the design, we do the improvements and the maintenance. We do the upgrades when SSL libraries need to get updated and all things. And obviously, we fix things when things break. But in DevOps, nobody has talked about humans so far. We got a nice philosophy, we got great ideas, and we only apply them on the software, on the tool. But what about the people who we are running the infrastructure? Well, we have seen that there are some things that we can do. And actually, you should start considering your human issues, the issues that affect your team, your DevOps team, as part as they were your system issues. So probably you have a beautiful dashboard with open alerts, things that they require your attention, hard disks that they are about to get full, and then probably you should have a counter or monitoring dashboard for your team to make sure if they are happy, if they had good sleep, all these things. Because at the end, those things, those human side of things, affects your infrastructure. Downtime is critical for you, and you consider that as the most critical factor of your business. If humans take care of your systems, at the end, the satisfaction, the happiness, the health of your team has a direct impact in your downtime and in your business. So we have seen that you should take care of the people. Because people, they say humans are the only animal that step twice in the same stone. We commit the same mistakes. We sleep, we lapse, we do mistakes all the time, and actually we even do violation. I was reading a couple of weeks ago that 80% on my mic is sleeping as well. Yeah, 80% of the people would be willing to sell their company data just for money, and this happens all the time. So what we can do? Obviously, we need to be prepared for downtime, and that basically means practicing and learning how to respond to incidents in your infrastructure. Obviously, once we have an incident and we get this thing fixed, we need to learn from the bad things, so that's why we write postmortems. But today we are going to focus on the preparation and on responding. And well, enough of theory, okay? So that was to give you an introduction, but I want to talk about real things today. If all this was theory and nobody had applied these concepts, these ideas in real life, it would be a stupid talk. And for this, I'm going to give you an example. We have been doing DevOps for many years already. We have quite a big infrastructure. Just to give you some figures, we are monitoring over 100,000 servers for our customers. So you can imagine the infrastructure to process all those payloads, generate the alerting and everything. We have a big infrastructure. And a few months ago, we had an incident. Our infrastructure is hosted in SoftLayer, and one of their data centers in the US lost power. Shouldn't be a problem because they had a backup generator, but guess what? It failed. Well, shouldn't be a problem. Guess what? They had a second backup generator, and yes, it failed again. So in just 1 second, in the middle of the night, half of our infrastructure went down. So yeah, we had monitoring and we had alerting in place. And one of our on-call engineers got notified. He had to wake up, and when he saw what he had in front of him, he said, holy shit, all the product is down. What we are going to do? Well, no problem. We have prepared for that. He had trained this thing. We have very well documented what we had to do. We had to do a manual failover of our DNS. Usually all the procedures and all the balance of failovers should be automated because some limitations of SoftLayer infrastructure. This was a manual process. Not a problem. We have a procedure for this in place, steps that should be taken, and actually we have a timing for this. We knew that was going to take 20 minutes to recover because, well, some manual processes, updating DNS, records, etc., 20 minutes. Shouldn't be a problem. Well, put yourself in this person's shoulders. You have the full responsibility of your company availability. It's in the middle of the night. You just woke up and you think, holy shit, this is all on me. I need to get this thing fixed. I know how to do it, but what if something goes unexpected? What if? Well, guess what? At the end, it took us 43 minutes to get this thing fixed. And why? If we have practiced this before and we have followed that procedure before and we have perfect timing for it, it should be 20 minutes. Why? It took almost double those extra 23 minutes. Once we did the postmortem, we looked back and we realized that those 23 minutes, extra 23 minutes, it was only human factor. It was not the tools, it was not anything that could be improved in our tools. It wasn't a technical thing, it was a human thing. If you want to see the full details, we are quite transparent with this, and we tend to upload complete, transparent post-mortem records and status updates to our status page. So if you go to status.serverdensity.com, you will be able to see this full description. Anyway, for us, those 23 minutes were too much. If it's 20, should be 20 and not 43. So we decided to look backwards and see how we can improve, what we can learn from this. So what happened here? It was actually the human factor. That person who was on call, let's be honest with ourselves, he was unfamiliar with the process. You don't switch your DNS every week. Actually, this is something you configure once when you start your company, and probably you will never do it again. So yeah, he was unfamiliar with the process. Even though if he had trained that, he was not doing that every week. Then the panic effect. When you are when you are full responsible and you have full responsibility of everything in your company just for a second and you need to fix everything, you panic. You think it's all on me. I need to get this fixed. What if something goes wrong? What if I make things even worse? So probably the best thing you can do is to bring someone to help you. So he had to escalate this internally. So that added even more extra time. So we said this cannot be or cannot happen again. And well, actually what we did was to automate this procedure. So if it happens again, it's all automated. Nobody needs to do any manual process. But for the future, and because it's not realistic that everything can be automated in all your procedures, we put some processes in place. And this is what we do every time we have an incident in our infrastructure. You might start looking at the problem straight away, but we don't do that. We do a couple of things first that makes things easier to the whole of your team start fixing things as a team. First of all, every time something breaks, there is something that our engineers, our DevOps, they need to have a look. They get a notification. We use PagerDuty, but you could be using anything else. So first thing they do is acknowledge the alert. I'm going to work on this. Second thing they do is to load next to them a checklist. It's similar to this, a list basically where they have all the steps. And the third thing we do is to log in a specific chat room to talk about incidents. We don't chat about these in our general chat while other developers, front-end developers, or the marketing people, it's talking about different things. We have a dedicated room. That's might be obvious or might be too simple, but it's very handy when you need to bring someone in and help you, or he can catch up very quickly because he can scroll up and see all the backlog of all the discussion that happened. And then the next thing is to open a ticket, okay? We use Jira. You could be using anything else in the same way that we use Slack. You could be using any other chat system, but dedicated room and then dedicated ticket. This has proved very useful, again, to have people catch up with everything that has happened in that incident. And also, we found this very useful for writing postmortems. Actually, postmortems, it's something that our DevOps team doesn't write, is our CEO or some manager, any third party that was not involved with the incident, the ones who are writing the postmortem. It's basically like having an auditor, someone external, to come, review everything that happened, and then write some conclusions, things that went wrong, things that they got fixed, measures that we put in place to prevent this from happening in the future. So logging everything in a ticket is very useful as well. I know there is some duplication between the chat and the ticket, but you should do that only once you have followed all these steps. It's time to start looking at what's wrong. If you start looking at what's wrong, if it's a simple thing, yeah, you might be able to fix it yourself. But if it's a huge thing that needs to be fixed in your infrastructure, in your system, probably it's not going to be only you. It probably will be other engineers, other operation guys, and maybe even some developers. So having all these things put in a place and a procedure that everybody is following every single time makes much easier to bring people in every incident, and then do a little bit of retrospective or postmortem of what happened. So that's why using checklists and in general having a very well documented procedure is very important. And I actually want to stop on checklists. Checklists, they are very important in operations. We see them used not only in operations, but everywhere. Yesterday I came from London, I was flying, and my pilot on the plane was reading a checklist of everything he had to check before taking off. So pilots, they have checklists. Doctors, when they need to open someone in surgery, they do have checklists just in order to not to forget anything, because it's mission critical. And even divers. So I got my diver license a few months ago, and one of the first things I learned was Bruce Willis runs all films, which is a sentence to remember to check all the different parts of your gear. Once you go under the water, your life depends on your gear, and making sure that everything works and you don't forget anything, it's vital. If you run out of air or if you get stuck with your weights, you die. So even if it's something simple, the air, the weight, everything looks fine now, you need to review everything every time you do the operation. So you see, if doctors, pilots, divers, they are using checklists, I think DevOps, they should be using checklists. We are using checklists, and we have proof that they are very useful. And I think sysadmins, DevOps, they have something with ego and with, I build the system. I don't need to have a documentation. I don't need to have a checklist. Who understand this better than me? Well, guess what? Systems, they are becoming more and more complex every day. Microservices, cloud scalability, blah, 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 all these things we build systems that they are very complex and nobody can handle all the dependencies, everything built and working at the same time in your brain. So use checklists. Might be someone else on call. You might be waking up in the middle of the night and you're sleeping, or you might be hungover or even drunk or distracted or with things on your brain. So having very clear steps of everything you need to do is very handy. For checklists, they shouldn't be followed blindly. We are not machines, otherwise those procedures would be automated. So if they are not automated, it's for a reason, so don't follow the checklist blindly. They are just a suggestion of things that should be done, but think it twice. It's also very interesting that when you write documentation, should be stored in a different system, because if your infrastructure goes down together with your documentation, there is no documentation. So please, I've seen this multiple times, store your checklist, your documentation into a different system. We use Google Docs. It sucks. Probably if you are starting, you should be looking at something different. But, all of our mail account system is based on Google, so it was very handy for us to start using Google Apps and Google Docs. Needs to be searchable, so search, it's very nice, especially as documentation tends to grow and you need to resolve things that they are very time sensitive. Again, search in Google Docs sucks, but that's what we got. And then every time you fix things, document, because they are very likely to happen again. And if you fix something and you document what you do, what you did, what are your options next time this happens to you and you wake up in the middle of the night because you need to fix that, or it's one of your colleagues, known issues, the documentation, it's very convenient. So in order, going back to the incident, the example incident I said at the beginning, having documentation in place, all the procedures, so you don't panic when you need to restore your whole infrastructure, is one of the things, documentation. But the other thing that you can do to improve that panic effect, or to handle the human side of things, is training. And we do training, and we call it war games. Basically, what we do is every 2 months, between 2 months and 2 weeks, really depends on how fast we change things or how busy we are. We run these war games, and basically we create a replica environment of our infrastructure. Nowadays, doing this with the cloud, it's very easy and very cheap. So you create a replica environment of your production. Obviously, might not be 100% the same. So if you have huge databases with terabytes of data, it's not going to be the same thing, but as close as possible to the production. And you start breaking things, basically. You have someone on your team, you break this other thing, and then people they start receiving notifications through the regular alerting system, and they start fixing things. So you have all the team fixing things together and one or two guys breaking things. But we don't break one single thing. If you see every time there is a plane accident, it's not because one of the engines fail, or it's not because weather conditions, or it's not because one of the pilots fall asleep. No, every time there is a problem, there is a tragedy in your infrastructure or in a flight, it's because multiple things happen at the same time, and that created a chain of events that led into a disaster. So in your infrastructure will be the same thing. You deploy things on high availability. You have multi-zone deployments. So we have measures in place to prevent downtime. So it would be stupid, or not, at least not very interesting, to train for one single failure. So what we do in our war games is start breaking things one after each other and get into random scenarios where multiple things get broken. And that's how our team trains for this. And our DevOps, they like to do completely unexpected scenarios. So probably we can break a database, and then the rest of the team that they are practicing, they say, okay, let's go to and restore the database. And suddenly, the guys breaking things, they have removed the whole operating system. So they don't have the binaries to restore the database. So we are giving them unexpected results all the time, because that's the kind of thing you will see when things break in production. So using checklists, using documentation, all these things, plus training very realistic scenarios, these are two of the things we have done. What we have seen, the results of doing this. Well, we see that people, they were able to test their response, not only as individuals, but as a team, okay? So when you need to fix things in real life, when you train the very same thing last week or yesterday, you feel yourself more confident, you're tested. You do real commands, so the testing or the training was very similar to what you need to do when you have an incident. So there is no unfamiliarity with the process. And doing this war game, we not only train the people, but we are training the procedures and the tools. So our tools get better, because if we need to run 3 commands, probably will be automated that into 1. So our tools, as we keep on training, they keep getting better, and the procedures as well. So it's something that it's affecting and improving all parts involved in the process. And being specific to the people. As I said, we increase the confidence of the people. If someone wakes up in the middle of the night, we are going to reduce that panic effect when that person trained the very same thing before. We have better coordination as we train as a team. People get used to working together, and that improves the coordination and trust relationship between the team. So imagine there is someone new in your team, something very dramatic happens to your infrastructure. It's something that you cannot fix on your own. You need to bring someone. Is this new guy? How do you know? You have never worked with that guy, or not for very long. Do you trust him? Do you believe that he's going to be able to handle things? So once you play to these war games, trust relationship between colleagues improves. And at the end, the final result is improving time to resolution. So if we have an incident and we have perfect timings for that incident, and we know that it should be resolved in 20 minutes, won't be 43. So let's try to close that gap, to remove those extra 23 minutes as much as we can. And your infrastructure is changing all the time. You deploy new services, you improve services, you release new versions of your software. So this is not something that you do once. Oh, we did this 2 years ago. It was great. but we are very busy with other things, so we won't be able to do it again. It's not a priority. Well, we have this in the calendar, so we do it maximum every 2 months. If not, all the things need to stop, and we do it because it's very important. We review this every time. We improve as we keep doing more war games, and people forget. I don't remember. Do you remember everything you learned when you got your driving license? No. Probably the basics, but that's it. There are many complex rules that we tend to forget, so people forget. So doing training all the time is very convenient. But we have seen that there is still some room for improvement. So all the things they are not included in this talk, but probably it's worth talking about. It's designing very well on-call schedules, so you don't get the same person every week or every 2 weeks being on call, and they are not on call always for the same part of your infrastructure, or they don't get the same messages all the time. They don't fix the same things all the time. So if you keep rotating people, the knowledge spreads between your team, and things get much better. Obviously, optimizing your notifications and just making sure if we wake someone in the middle of the night is because that person needs to fix something, otherwise everything goes down. Because if you know that our hard disk is going to be full by midday, it's probably something that we can fix when we arrive to the office at 9 a.m. in the morning, and we shouldn't be waking up that person at 3 a.m. to get that fixed. So these kind of things, we have seen that improve the quality of life of the people running our infrastructure. We have reduced the number of pages that they get during out-of-office hours, and they feel more happy, they feel much better even if they need to be on call. So all these philosophies, all these ideas, I started to talk about them around 1 year ago, more or less, speaking in different DevOps conferences around Europe. And I found that many organizations, they were doing these kind of things already, and people that were very interested about talking more about these kind of things, how different teams, different organizations handles that part of the human side of the infrastructure. So we decided to give it a name. We decided HumanOps could be something else. And we set some principles to say, okay, so what's HumanOps? So humans are part of the system because humans impact your system. If you are not ready to fix something, your SLAs, they are not going to be as you expect. Therefore, humans impact your business. Downtime impact your business. Humans impact your business. And to measure these human issues should count as system issues. With these 4 things, probably we do a good summary of everything involved in handling the people. So actually, it's going to be tomorrow. We are speaking about this in London. We have people from Spotify, from Dell, from Barclays, from Marks and Spencer, different companies, big companies that they are doing these kind of things, and we get together just to learn, share knowledge. But it's not only happening in London. We have created an online community, HumanOps. So I encourage you to join. We have a GitHub repository when we link different content that we think it's important. We keep discussion online, so it would be great if you can join. And well, this is not for this conference. I was last week in DevOps Days. But if you're interested in our product, you can get a free package if you go to the website. And well, this is everything I had ready for today. I hope you enjoy. And if you have any question, I think now it's time. Thank you. Wow.
Okay, so I understand that the on-call rota you are doing by using some software. You are using PagerDuty?
Yes, we use PagerDuty, but as I said before, all these ideas, they are not specific to the software we use. So you could be using PagerDuty, you could be using, I think it's called VictorOps, ServiceNow if you want, anything. Well, probably not with ServiceNow, sorry. But yeah, shouldn't be specific of the software. With any notification software, you should be able to handle. It's more a thing of having a calendar probably and making sure everyone is taking care of everything at least once in a while, rather than we do use PagerDuty or this other thing.
Yeah, I understand. Is there any software you tested? Because I understand you used PagerDuty because you tested several of them. So from your point of view, PagerDuty have more pros than cons?
Yeah, probably. It's the one we are more happy with. But I'm not getting any commission for any PagerDuty sales here today, so I won't be suggesting any specific software.
Go ahead. Yeah, so part of DevOps is proper logging and proper monitoring, and as you said, it would be good to have the dashboard with the monitoring of people. So do you have any ideas for this?
Yes, we are working on something. We are working on a free tool, so will be integrated with our software, but as this other application we released a few months ago, Cloud Status App, we are working on a software that allows to monitor people sleep, and you will be able to import that data in your monitoring system, either if you are using server density or Nagios or the Zalando software. It was presented yesterday, so we are working on that. But yeah, you could start doing that straight away manually if you want. So for example, with a Slack bot, asking people how did you sleep last night, and if you have someone who didn't sleep properly, probably you want to exclude that person from being on call. So that kind of things, you could start doing them straight away. But we are working on a tool that will be released hopefully next month.
Jorge, I like your procedures and it makes sense, but focusing on social side of this approach, you've mentioned that you've changed the approach to have a team. And is it used only for critical incidents, or you've changed it at all? And second, how the team solves problems. I mean, if one person is a supervisor of the team, or you use some voting when you make the decisions that are not on checklists.
Yes. So the general procedure is used always, every time we receive any notification through PagerDuty, we use the general procedure. So that's why it's called general. And because we only do troubleshooting in the 5th step, it's not until the 5th step that we know if it's something very important, very critical, that we need the whole team to fix it, or it's something very simple that actually I could say, oh yes, this is nothing, let's close the incident because it was a false alert. The general procedure is used always. Your second question regarding voting and making decisions. We train, or we do discussion a lot during war games, but when you have an incident, I'm sorry, but we don't have any time to discuss. We need to get things fixed as soon as possible. So all the discussion and all the voting, if something needs to be voted, happens during war games, during the training. On incidents, it's either the person who is on call, or if there is an escalation, the DevOps or the infrastructure manager, who is the one making the decisions if there is some discrepancy between the team members. So yeah, there is democracy during the training, on real incidents, there is more dictatorship. So because things they need to get fixed.
But we can't predict everything. So
Yeah,
there is
so that's why
some
these things,
uncertainty. And,
they are manual intervention, otherwise it will be automated.
Close to the end of your presentation, you've mentioned that human is a part of systems, and I understand that you still use the model that one person is on call at night. What about so-called human cluster? I mean, at least two persons responsible during one night to solve the incidents.
There is never a single person on call. There is one primary person, and then I think it's 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, that person hasn't acknowledged the alert. It goes directly into the second person on call, and I think it's another 5 minutes. If the second person on call doesn't acknowledge the alert, it calls directly to our CEO, who's always on call.
Do you have some problem to encourage people to create some checklists, to adopt this resolution and spend time and money to create game worlds?
No, actually, people, they are more happy. At the beginning, yes, every time you need to encourage your team to write documentation, they prefer to write code. It's self-explained rather than writing comments and documentation. But people, they have realized that it's for their own benefit. So when you are on call in the middle of the night and your colleague has documented everything and you can get that thing fixed in 3 minutes and go back to sleep, you are very happy that someone did that documentation and it was so complete, so easy to follow. So people, they have realized that this is for their own benefit, and it has been adopted as a cultural thing inside our company. So now there is no discussion about this is being done or not. It just gets done because it's for their own benefit.
Hi, great topic. I have a question. Have you ever had a situation of a burn down or depression or any other mental breakdown in your company? And how do you act? How do you handle it? How do you support your colleagues?
Yes, so every time or every sprint, the issues that affect the developers get priority versus new features or even customer bug fixes. So if there is this bug that it's waking up people every single night, that gets top priority in every planning game, in the planification of the sprint. That way we avoid people getting burned. But yes, we have had situations of our DevOps manager being escalated even during his holidays because he's the master and he has full control of everything. So again, that's why we do war games, to get this knowledge spread, and we are able to rotate people on call, these kind of things. So we have a specific moments that some person was getting too many notifications, but as soon as we realized that, we started to spread the knowledge and rotate people on call, so we prevent these things from happening again. That's the reason why.
But this is preventing. What if it happens?
What if it happens? Well,
How do you as a company support such a person, or how do you help out?
so basically, all you can do is to give that person time off. So if I didn't sleep anything last week or last night, it doesn't make sense. So you cannot put that person to work next day. So please go to sleep, and tomorrow we'll have a look on what we can do. There's nothing that you can do. When someone gets burned, they need fresh air and time off.
Have you measured how much does it usually take to from one to get awake and fill the list until the investigation starts?
Really depends. So if you have very bad sleep and you were ready with your laptop, oh, time off.
We're still good.
So if you're ready on your laptop, it's almost instantaneous. If you were sleeping, and it's usually a couple of minutes. This is one of the things our new app will be doing, tracking the time between alert dispatch or notification and when you start working, and actually you see this in beautiful graphs and everything, and also you will be able to see how long did it take to go back to sleep. So because maybe you are wake up in the middle of the night and then you cannot go back to sleep. So even if you were able to resolve that incident in 5 minutes, but then you couldn't sleep during the whole night, you cannot work the next day, or probably you should be taken out from the on-call schedule and replaced by someone else on the next day. So this is the kind of things we are going to help teams with a new app.
And how big is the team?
Our company is 20-something people. On operations, we have 3 full-time, plus all the developers who are DevOps, and they also deploy their own software, basically. But infrastructure is 3 people at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have some more questions?
So how do you manage holidays and so on if you have 3 people all 24 hours, 7?
Planning, calendar. So it's, yeah, but not only the operations people, they are on call. We also have backend developers on call, so that's easy to handle. They are not always primary contact.
And how much games work takes time?
How long does it take? It's probably half a day. It's probably half a day.
Anyone? Okay.
Well, again, thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.
And if you have any other question, just grab me now. I'm happy to chat.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jorge.